Hello friends, I'm Abby and today I will be showing you the books that I have hauled in the past month or so. I am going to kind of split them up into general books and then some kind of fall vibe books that I got for fall or that I've read in the fall that I think are perfect fall books. Okay, I will start with the books that I have already read and really enjoyed and bought so I could have them on my shelves. The first one is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow, and this is the second book in the Nevermore series. The Nevermore series is a middle grade fantasy series that features Morrigan Crow, who is a young girl who in the first book is told that she will die on her 13th birthday, or her 12th birthday, I think. And she basically has been raised to believe she's cursed and that she's going to die on her birthday. And then Juniper North, this benefactor man, comes to her and says, hey, magic is real. I will prove it to you. And then you can decide if you want to come with me to this world of Nevermore and live, or if you want to stay here and die. And of course she decides to go to Nevermore, but when she gets there she has to compete in some trials. So this is the second book of the series, and it takes place at this magical school, and there are some disappearances happening in this book that Morgan is kind of taking upon herself to figure out what's going on. So I absolutely loved this. I really wanted to own it, and I gave the first book 4 stars, but this book got me invested. So I had to own it because I am so invested in continuing this series now. A new series that I just started is Saga, and I was so adamant that this was not my thing. I'm not a comic reader. I have never given a comic 5 stars. I just don't love it. And especially when they're in series like this, that is like a 9-volume series, I thought that I wouldn't connect to it. But I picked this up and I am obsessed. I absolutely love these characters. The comedy is peak. And I think that I just really connected to the story about these 2 alien people who came together in the middle of a war and had a baby. And this first volume is really just them figuring out how to get away together. And I just thought that that was amazing. Oh, I forgot. I've been trying in my hauls to tell you who designed covers. This cover art is by Jim Madsen, and the cover design is by Sasha Illingsworth. And this, I believe, is just the artist's depiction, and that is Fiona Staples. So it has some stunning artwork. I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend Saga. Another continuation of a series is this graphic novel, and it is The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. This is kind of a low fantasy graphic novel. Not a whole lot happens. It is not very plot driven, but this book is the second book in the Tea Dragon Society series, and this focuses on the Tea Dragon Festival that happens every few years in this town, and it celebrates the tea dragons. And in this town, a dragon awakens after being asleep for a long time, but doesn't remember why they fell asleep. And so this dragon is kind of working with this girl to figure out what happened and why he was asleep for so long. Something I love about these graphic novels is they are so inclusive, and this one specifically featured deaf characters. So you see in this graphic novel characters using American Sign Language and communicating seamlessly using some signs rather than using words. And this, of course, the cover is probably designed by Katie O'Neill, who did the art. But let's find out for sure. Yes, so it's written and illustrated by Katie O'Neill, so fantastic. Okay, another book I've read already and didn't necessarily love, but it was fairly enjoyable, and I'm not quite sure how to talk about it, but I bought it because I needed to read it for a book club. It's Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. This is kind of a classic, a cult classic. People love this book. I enjoyed it in certain aspects, but some parts I just can't get past, and I'm sorry about that. But this book is all about Kafka, who is a young boy. He's 15, and he's running away from home, and he is going to this new town and basically finds his footing in this library and is trying to start his life over. It also follows Nakata, who is an elderly man who is kind of seeing things and feeling things. He can talk to cats, and they both kind of have this journey that meets in the middle. It was full of magical realism and weird things. I really enjoyed it for a lot of it, but there are some problems I have with it. Next, I have The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk. This is an adult fantasy standalone. I really enjoyed this. It is a romance, first and foremost, a very Victorian age romance. And this book is all about Beatrice Claiborne, she is a sorceress who wants to practice magic, and when you get married in this world, they put a collar on you so that the women cannot practice magic, because the magic, as a woman, if you get pregnant while practicing magic, while your magic is flowing freely, it can injure or hurt the baby, and so women just automatically in this time period are given a collar when they are married, but men are not. And so this follows Beatrice, who is determined to not get married, instead become a sorceress, and she meets some friends along the way who are trying to help her out. I just absolutely loved this book. I forgot again to tell you the Kafka on the Shore designer. Oh, this is designed by my favorite cover designer, Michaela Alcano. This design of Murakami is by Suzanne Dean. Next, Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is an adult romance. It is steamy. It is super steams, and I'm obsessed. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling. It was kind of magical. You know what? I kind of feel like this book is like 50 Shades of Grey, but less problematic. Like, way less problematic, and better characters. Like, I loved both of these characters. I loved the journey they went on. I was fully invested in the relationship. The steamy scenes were 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. And I just overall loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. So this is designed by, gotta find the cover design, Dawn Adams and Sourcebooks. So Dawn Adams and Sourcebooks designed this cover, and I think it's stunning. And there is a second book in this series coming out. I believe it's called Electric Idol. Really excited for that. And then the last book in this that doesn't qualify for like the Halloween setting or some other kind of category, but that I've read and loved, is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I loved this book. I read it in a reading blog, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but this follows this man who wakes up in a spaceship in space and doesn't remember why he's there, doesn't remember his name, and slowly throughout the book is getting more memories, and basically he's on this mission that if he fails, the entire Earth could be destroyed. So, absolutely loved this. Highly, highly, highly recommend. It is one of my absolute favorite science fiction stories. It was funny. The character was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And the jacket design is by Will Staley. Okay, then before I get to kind of Halloween spooky reads, I have 3 books that I got in the past few months that I am really excited about. The first one is from Book of the Month, and it is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is an adult romance. I've heard it's kind of a fan fiction between Kylo Ren and Rey. I haven't read it, but this is getting major hype on BookTube, so I cannot wait to read it because I think it's going to be wonderful. I believe it's fake dating, and it follows a woman who's getting her PhD and a professor at this college, and he is not her professor, just throwing that out there. But it is a fake relationship between these scientists that obviously turns into a real relationship. I think that it is a grumpy sunshine trope. I cannot wait for this. And the cover is designed by Lilith Sarr. The next book I'm so excited about because it is one of the most gorgeous books I own, and it is The Winter Garden by Alexandra Bell. Look at those colors. It's so stunning. But this book is the Waterstone Special Edition. It has this like navy blue purple top and bottom and the sprayed edges, the design on the side. Absolutely stunning. And this is a book all about this garden where there is this kind of magical challenge to make this garden. It sounds very much like the Night Circus, but instead of a circus, it's a garden. So I'll just read the back to you because it sounded absolutely amazing. It says, "You are invited to enter an unusual competition. I am looking for the most magical, spectacular, remarkable pleasure garden this world has to offer. A garden that brings wonder and amazement to people's lives. The winner will be picked at the end of next year upon New Year's Eve. They will be required to give up the most wondrous part of their garden. In return, the prize will be one wish from the last of the winter garden's magic." I cannot wait to read this. And the kind of tagline is, "What would you sacrifice for one life-changing wish?" So not only is this book stunning on the outside, I think it'll be stunning on the inside. And this book is designed, the cover is designed by Emma Gray Gelder, and the illustration is done by Charlotte Day. Next up, one of my most anticipated books of the year, When Night Breaks by Janella Angelus. So, When Night Breaks is the sequel to Where Dreams Descend. Where Dreams Descend is a story that is basically the combination of Zac Efron and Zendaya's characters in The Greatest Showman and The Phantom of the Opera. It is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. It's a young adult duology that is a fantasy-inspired story about The Phantom of the Opera. So it has this beautiful romance going on, a love triangle type thing, and it features Kalia, who is a female magician. In this time, in this area, female magicians are not given space to perform. They're typically seen as kind of the showgirls, the sidekicks, and Kalia says, "No, I will be my own magician. This guy is actually my assistant, so do with that what you will." And she enters this competition even though Jack, who is basically this man or this guy who has been her benefactor this whole time and has been taking care of her, even though he tells her that it will be dangerous, she joins anyway. And this is the sequel to that. And I'm obsessed with this cover. I'm obsessed. And then it has these end papers, and it has this magic mirror on the inside cover. I cannot wait to read this. I'm going to read it so soon because I have to know what happens. And, of course, it's duology, so this will be the end. And this cover was designed, again, by Michaela Alcano, my favorite cover designer. I love her. And then, before I get to my spooky Halloween reads that I recommend, I wanted to show off my Fairy Loot editions of From Blood and Ash, and they just got here. I'm so excited. So we have From Blood and Ash, and there are sprayed edges. There are beautiful end papers, and then there is this beautiful inside, and look at that. I'm obsessed. So that's the first one, and then the back says, "Is destiny stronger than desire?" A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire is the second one. It has red sprayed edges with a sword. That's what the cover looks like. Is love stronger than vengeance? Look at that. Absolutely stunning. And these, again, are designed by, you guessed it, Michaela Alcano, my queen. I absolutely love her covers, and they all have like similar things that I love, and I think that she just hit on something I absolutely love in cover design. And I'm very fascinated in the way covers are designed, just in terms of like how they match what actually is in the book. I think that that is just such a cool concept, cover designing. So beautiful. So those are my From Blood and Ash series, Fairy Loot editions. I'm so excited that they're here. And then last but not least, my little spooky stack of books. They're not all spooky. Some of them are. The first one is The Once and Future Witches by Alex Ihero. And this is a story about three sisters who are witches, but they haven't really been pursuing witching, and they have been separated for many years due to some kind of arguments and some fallouts between them. And this is the story of them coming back together and trying to bring witching back. This is also set in the time period of women suffragists trying to get the right to vote. So it's a very interesting meld of historical fiction and magic. I'm not telling you what I think about this yet because I just read it in a vlog that will be coming out sometime in the next month or so. But keep your eyes open for this because I am excited for you to hear my thoughts. I love that this book has deckled edges, very much fitting with this kind of parchment, bookish idea. And this book was designed by Lisa Marie Pompilio. Next, a book I'm so excited to read, Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. And look at how disgusting this book is. I showed this off in my TBR, but I just had to show you here again. This is the story of Faye and Felix, who are celebrating their engagement in this romantic getaway. They go to a cabin, and it doesn't end up exactly like they planned, because once they get there, they start hearing voices in the forest, and Felix starts to notice that Faye is talking in her sleep. But not only is she talking in her sleep, she's whispering back to the voices. So terrifying. I can't wait to read this. And this cover, this absolutely horrifying cover design, Lorinda Tomko. Woo! Lorinda, you got me messed up. Next, I bought Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. This is a graphic novel, and I gave this graphic novel 3 stars when I read it, but I kept thinking about this book and thinking about how I just wanted to read it every fall because it has such perfect fall vibes. It talks about fall food. It's set in this pumpkin patch with these 2 characters who this is their last year working at the pumpkin patch together before they go to college, and they make basically a bucket list to do everything at this pumpkin patch. So it's amazing. I'm assuming either Rainbow Rowell or Faith Erin Hicks designed the cover because they are the author. Yeah, so the cover was designed by Faith Erin Hicks. Well, the cover design is Andrew Arnold. The art is Faith Erin Hicks, and the cover was colored by Braden Lamb and Shelley Caroline. Next, I got A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is all over BookTube right now, and I had to know what the hype was about. And this book I could not find at my library in any form. Audiobook, ebook, physical. So yeah, I said, you know what? I'm just going to buy it. This book is a reimagining of Dracula's wives, but it features them. I believe there's a polygamous relationship. I think it's told completely in vignettes as a letter from Dracula's wife to Dracula. So I'm very excited to read it. People have said the writing is fantastic, that it is moving, and it's a pretty small book. So I just really wanted to get in on the hype, see what the hype is all about. And this cover art is by Marlo Loon. It's pretty creepy. I absolutely love it. I think it's going to be perfect for Halloween time. My book of the month pick for October was The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. And I keep getting the plot of this mixed up with Payback's a Witch. The tagline for this is never mix vodka and witchcraft, and I just think that is really exciting. So I believe this is like a second chance romance, maybe? Between this girl who, she had her heart broken years ago by this guy, and she happened to accidentally, in her drunken, broken heart state, cast a hex on him, and now, like 10 years later, they're meeting back up again, and they have to work together for some reason, I think to save their little town, and romance ensues. I've heard that this is very similar to like Gilmore Girls vibes, so that's one of the reasons I was so excited to pick it up, and I think it'll be perfect for October. Another book I bought recently is one I actually already owned, but I used to really destroy my books when I read them, just to, I guess, prove how much I read them, how hard I read the book. So I said, you know what, I'm going to buy a different edition and just a better copy of this book because it's one of my all-time favorites. And that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And I bought this little compact copy. I love the cover. This is the UK edition. The cover is illustrated by Kate Forrester. But this book is all about these 2 magicians who are basically battling it out at this circus that only shows up at night, and it is the story of kind of which one of them is going to be the head magician. I absolutely loved this book. I think it's perfect to read for fall if you're looking for like a fantasy book to read. Next, I got A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I read this recently and I was obsessed. Of course, it's not a perfect book. I hear other people telling their thoughts on this book and I agree with them, but this book had all of the vibes for dark academia that I was looking for. It's sapphic, and I just thought it was a really fun and great ride. So I recommend this if you're looking for like a young adult dark academia. And the cover is stunning. And this is about this girl, Felicity, who goes to a school called the Dalloway School. And the Dalloway School is known for these 5 witches who used to go there, or who basically founded the school. And Felicity is going to this boarding school, or this private school, to write this paper and do this research on these witches. And this book has a really great idea around witches in literature, mental health in women. Really a great book all around, and it has a very interesting like murder mystery kind of at its center, like a lot of young adult or dark academia in general does. And this jacket art is by Maggie Anterios, and jacket design is by Regina Flath. Nice job. I love it. And last, but certainly not least, is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire, and this is the sequel to Every Heart a Doorway, which is the second book. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. This book follows Jack and Jill, and it's kind of a reimagining of the Jack and Jill story, but it does feature Jack and Jill, who are in the first book. Now, all of these books could be read as a standalone, but I recommend reading them in order because it was nice to kind of see, this is a prequel to the first book, so it was nice to see kind of what brought the characters to the place they were at in the first book. I love this. This is a series all about kids who are taken into different doorways that are perfect worlds for them, their ideal worlds, and something happens that kind of kicks them back into the real world. And when that happens, the parents don't really know what to do with them, so Eleanor West takes them into the Home for Wayward Children. This book follows Jack and Jill, who in the first book we see at the Home for Wayward Children, and this focuses on their doorway, their world that they were in, and kind of what got them kicked out. And this cover design is by Fort, and the photographs are by Christophe Desagues. That is going to be all for me today, friends. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video with anyone you think would enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.